Lunar Cycles. Most people don't give it a second thought that our planet Earth has an object rotating around it all the time. It's called the moon. We see the moon from time to time at night when we're gazing up at the sky, but most people don't give it much thought. But our moon, as it travels around the Earth, influences our planet in magnificent ways. Not only do lunar cycles occur in such a way each month that we see the different phases of the moon as it goes around Earth determines the tides going up and down. The lunar cycles also affect the various reproduction of different organisms on planet Earth. So this week, as we talk about lunar cycles, prepare yourself to find out things about the moon you never thought possible. Here's a model of the Earth and Moon system. As many of you know, the moon revolves in orbit around the Earth. And it takes about a month in order to do that, about a period of 29 days. Now, a couple interesting things here about this Earth-Moon system. Some astronomers call us twins in space because the position of the Earth and the Moon are very much aligned together. A couple of interesting things. The same side of the Moon always faces the Earth. So we only ever see one side of the moon. The far side of the moon is always faced out into outer space, which is one reason why there are a lot more craters on the outside of the moon, the far side, because the moon helps to protect us from all sorts of meteor and asteroid impacts from space. What a great shield! Now, as the moon travels around the Earth every month, we see it a little bit differently. This model here shows how we see the different phases of the moon. If we were to put our face in the place of where the Earth is, and we look around at the different positions of the moon as it travels around us, this gives us an idea of how we see the different phases of the moon. Check it out a little bit closer. In this model, as we put our head in the center where the Earth is, we can see that when the moon is positioned between the Earth and the sun, we don't see the moon at all. This is the phase we call the new moon phase. As the moon moves around our planet, however, the side facing the sun is always illuminated, but we can't see it all the time. At this phase, we call this the waxing crescent. Kind of looks like a fingernail in the sky. As it continues around the Earth, this is called the first quarter phase, when we can actually see half of the moon's surface illuminated. Really, we're only seeing a quarter of its surface illuminated. As it gets closer in its position behind the Earth, we can see the vast majority of its surface during the waxing gibbous phase, until finally, when the moon is positioned on the opposite side of our planet as the sun, we see the entire face of the moon illuminated, and we call it the full moon. As the moon continues in its orbit, less of its surface is illuminated by the sun from our perspective. And here we have the waning gibbous, the last quarter phase of the moon, the waning crescent, and then finally it brings us back to the new moon again. And at this phase, the moon has made one complete orbit around our planet. Another influence that the moon has on us is that as we are rotating on our axis, the moon is pulling on our entire planet. As we pass below the moon, it pulls the oceans of the Earth toward it, And as we are rotating away, it pulls the oceans in the opposite direction. This is what causes the high tides and the low tides. And every day we experience 2 high tides and 2 low tides as the oceans are pulled toward the gravitational force of the moon. Some people say I'm just crazy about space, but I prefer to think of myself as a lunar tick. I'm just crazy about the moon. It's so cool. And I think you're going to become a lunar tick too by the end of this week.